Okay, so I am going to start by getting my yellow on my brush. I don't need a whole lot, right? Don't jam it all the way in there. Try not to ever get paint past the bristles and get it on this. This is called the ferrule because it's made out of metal. Ferrous means metal. So I'm going to start by painting in my yellow. I always go to the edge first, and I make a little box. If you're not pressing hard, your brush doesn't get bigger, and when you press harder, your brush will get bigger. Right? So that's how you can make multiple types of lines with a brush. And I'm just going to paint all the way to the edge as tidy as possible, okay? Cleanliness on this earns you extra points. You lose points when you go out of the lines. All right? Because not only are we learning to mix, but I want you to learn how to be controlled with your paint so that when you're ready to paint whatever you want, you can make your paint go where you need it to go. Okay? So I'm going to do that. And then didn't bring my paper towel. I'm going to use my little papers here. And I didn't bring my water cup. The only reason I'm having a water cup is to rinse out my brushes in between colors. I'm going to give you guys one of these so you can dry your brushes off in between colors. You can mix water with acrylic, but here we want our paint nice and thick so it has a good opacity to it. So we're going to rinse our brush. You could also use the back end of your brush later for mixing. And I'm going to get my red. And I'm going to go in here and get my red in. Need to cut off some of these loose bristles. This same method works with one of those square head brushes as well as the round brushes and the other shapes, okay? So if you have a preference, you can choose your preference, but we don't have enough brushes for everybody that are nice to give everybody a round brush like mine. And I want to kind of smooth my color out so it's nice and even. All right, that's the boring part. All right, so I always put the two colors in first so that I know where I'm working and I don't forget and I'm just saying this because some people are complete beginners here. Some people are not beginners at all. But you have to have this class to get to the next thing. So, you know, you do you. All right, so I'm going to mix for my orange next. I like to mix straight to the middle because then I can add the other color to that to make this color and this color. Oranges is a secondary color because it takes two primary colors and you mix them together, then you get a secondary. So one color plus 1 plus 1 is 2, and so that's a secondary color. So when I'm going to mix my paint, I like to use the end of my brush for the darker color. So I'm going to get some yellow. I'm going to put it right here in my little middle palette. I'm going to get my red. Now remember, I'm using less red than I have of yellow. That might be too little red. We shall see. And I'm going to use my brush to mix it. When people are mixing lots of paint, a lot of times they'll use a palette knife. I don't have a bunch of palette knives. And I like to have one tool because too many tools causes me problems because I lose things. All right. I think that's pretty good. All right. In order to make sure that you don't get striping in this color block, right? You want to squeeze, and I use my finger like a spatula, like a spatula, and I squeeze it out, and then I'll get all of that color back together and then remix again. Okay, now I'm going to paint this in this spot right here because red and yellow makes orange. It looks kind of pink to me, I know, right? I think it's going to dry better. Ooh. All right, we're going to go for it. I kind of, in my head, I think it might be a little too red, but we're going to try it. Turn your paper if you need to. Don't try and like just turn your hand all awkward, right? Because if you're always turning your hand awkward as an artist, if you continue that, eventually you're going to start to have problems with the way your body moves, okay? It sounds weird, but when you're an artist, a lot of things you need to be careful with when you're doing your activities that you don't end up hurting your body. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to take a little bit of this orange that I mixed, and I'm going to add yellow to it to make yellow orange. So I'm going to take my yellow, that's way too much, and then I'm going to take a little bit of my orange, and I'm going to mix that together. Y'all tell me if I'm mixing off the screen, please. All right, so I'm going to mix that together to get my yellow orange. I kind of like that better for orange. I'm going to make my yellow orange more yellow.
That looks more orange than the other.
It does. That's what I was just saying. So I'm going to make it more yellow orange, because if I decide that I don't like that orange, I can get another sheet and I can paint a new orange and cut it out and paste it over this one. And if I've been tidy, nobody will know but me. Okay? It's working smarter, not harder, and not extra. Like, if you can fix a mistake with less, ooh, gross. With less work, somebody didn't wash this brush good enough out and it has blue in it. If you can fix mistakes with less work and it's going to be just as good as the other, then totally do it. Oh, I went over the line. I think my orange is too red. All right, and then I would mix red with my orange. I've decided that my orange is too red, so I'm going to use that same orange for my red orange, and I'm going to cut and paste over. So I'm going to go ahead, I would go ahead and fill that in, all right? Now here's the thing. Once you finish with red and orange, right? If you have extra and somebody needs it, give it to them. All right? If you have extra and it's perfectly clean, you can try and put it back in the bottle, but any paint that's left on your palette needs to be put into the trash, not the sink. I scrubbed the sinks out this morning because somebody in another class has been putting paint down the sink on a regular, and that clogs the sink. And if I catch you putting paint in the sink, like big globs of it, and it clogs our sink, I'm going to make you work with the plumber to pull the plumbing apart, and you'll smell all that foul stench in there. It literally smells like a sewer, even though there's no sewery stuff in there because of the paint and the clay that ends up in our drains, okay? So use your fingers as spatulas. It washes right off, okay? Use your fingers as spatula, flick it into the trash. Then we're going to wash it. I'm going to set up two little wash tubs with some soapy water. You put your palette in the water and you use a round brush and scrub it while it's under the water, or you're going to splatter paint on you. And then you rinse it off while it's under the faucet like this, carefully like this. If you turn it this way or that way, water, oh, I love these palettes, but I hate them. Water goes in here and it shoots straight out at a 45-degree angle. And you will either end up completely wet or everything on the table will end up completely wet. Okay? Understand? Once you're done with these colors and you're ready to move on to like yellow and blue together, You want to wash your palette, dry it off. I'll get some more of these guys out, right? Dry it off with one of these and then switch to the next colors, okay? You shouldn't have more than 2 different original colors on your palette at any one time today. If you do, you're going to end up with mud by accident, okay? Because if you mix all 3 together, it turns brown, and then you have this poo-poo brown color, and it's not bright and vibrant, which we don't want today. Some other day we do. All right? Questions?